36. Mirage, the emergence of the Elysium world. If I were to say that mirages are the emergence of the Elysium world, scientists, especially meteorologists and optical scientists, would surely scoff and say that I know nothing about the refraction and total reflection of light. Indeed, my knowledge of optics and meteorology is only superficial, and I dare not show off my shallow knowledge in these fields, for fear of showing off my skills in front of an expert or displaying low-level skills in front of an expert to impress them. But since I have a clear understanding of the origin of the universe, the origin of life, the origin of humanity, and the 36-dimensional spaces in my consciousness, I also have my own explanation for mirages. I hope that experts can further analyze them from different perspectives. What is a mirage? A mirage is the revelation of the celestials and Buddhas to human beings. It is the emergence of a drop of the scenery of the Elysium world of the 36-dimensional spaces in the human world. In other words, a mirage is the true scene of the existence of the Elysium world. Some people describe a mirage as elusive, ever-changing, seemingly real yet illusory, and like a fairyland. These descriptions are quite appropriate, especially the description of like a fairyland, which can be said to reveal the true scene of a mirage. Strictly speaking, a mirage is a fairyland, and the Elysium world of the West, preached in Buddhism, is such a scene. When people who are fated to see the vast mountains, boundless sea, towering pavilions and buildings, hidden city walls and castles, and peaceful mountains and rivers in the sky from places like the beach, desert, Gobi, and lakeside, they will definitely have an inexplicable feeling about the beautiful and illusory scenery in the sky. What is it? Where does it come from? Is it from heaven or from earth? Scientists explain that it is an atmospheric optical phenomenon, the result of light refraction or total reflection in the atmosphere of different densities. More precisely, natural landscapes on Earth are illuminated by light, reflected into the atmosphere, and due to the drastic temperature changes in the desert or ocean, the local air forms different densities in the sky. When the reflected light from the object enters high-density air from low-density air, it refracts like a chopstick inserted into a water bowl, casting the natural landscapes of the Earth into the sky, and then a mirage appears. The explanation seems reasonable, but I would like to point out the following details and see how we can explain them. All explanations say that mirages are the refraction or total reflection of distant landscapes. I want to ask, what exactly is meant by distant? How far away is considered distant? Many sky appearances have been recorded. Have scientists found similar or alike landscapes on Earth corresponding to the distant mirages? What is the image formed after refraction, an upright or inverted image? If it is an inverted image, why is the image seen in the sky upright? If the image formed after refraction is upright, why are some mirages inverted? Do the reflected light rays enter from a rarer medium into a denser medium or from a denser medium into a rarer medium? In other words, do the light rays refract from the sky downwards or from the ground upwards? Objects on the Earth reflect light towards the sky only from below, so how can reflections occur from above to below? Of course, we can say that light rays undergo n-fold refraction in the atmosphere, leading to reflections from above to below, but this is only theoretical and does not work in reality. If it did, we would see mirages every day. Experts say that in the scorching sun of the desert, due to the low specific heat of sand, the temperature rises quickly. The temperature of the lower air near the sand rises very high, while the temperature of the upper air remains low. This creates an abnormal distribution of temperature. Due to thermal expansion and contraction, the density of the lower hot air close to the sand is small, while that of the upper cold air is large. Therefore, the refractive index of the air is smaller in the lower layer and larger in the upper layer. When light reflected from distant higher objects enters from the denser upper layer to the rarer lower layer, it is refracted continuously, and the incident angle gradually increases. When it becomes equal to the critical angle, total reflection occurs, resulting in a mirage. This theoretical analysis seems reasonable, but I have a question. If this theory is correct, then mirages should be seen frequently in the sky above deserts all over the world. Why do some deserts not have mirages for decades? Are those deserts not within the scope of this theory? Of course, experts can argue that the desert where a mirage occurs must have a special geographic and climatic environment. Without this special nature, even if there is a desert, a mirage will not appear in the sky above it. So, I want to ask, what are the special conditions that make a mirage appear in the sky above a desert? Which desert on Earth does not have these special conditions? As for the mirages that occur near the sea, experts explain it this way. In the summer, on calm and still water, the upper layer of air is heated and has lower density, while the air near the water surface is cooled by the water current and has higher density. When the temperature difference between the upper and lower layers of air is large and the density is lower in the upper layer and higher in the lower layer, light reflected from islands, towns, ships, and other objects on the horizon can be refracted or totally reflected up and down, thus causing a mirage. Yes, during summer, the air above the sea is prone to forming a density pattern of lower density at the top and higher density at the bottom. But what about autumn and winter? On December 16, 2002, the Shandong region entered winter, so why did a mirage still appear on the Penglai Peninsula? If the expert's theory is correct, then the air above the sea during summer should always have this density pattern, so why aren't mirages seen above the sea worldwide? In recent years, mirages have frequently appeared in the air above the Penglai Peninsula in Shandong. Some experts claim that this is due to the results of recent environmental cleanup efforts, with the air now being fresh and the environmental quality being high, leading to frequent mirages. This claim seems more like a politician's language rather than a conclusion from experts. If this is indeed the expert's viewpoint, then I have a question. When the Industrial Revolution had not yet happened on Earth, the air in the Penglai Peninsula was even fresher and of even better quality than it is now, so why didn't mirages appear frequently? Instead, they only appeared every few years. How does the air quality in Hawaii compare to that of the Penglai Peninsula, and why aren't mirages seen frequently there? Of course, experts will argue that the unique natural environment of the Penglai Peninsula is the main factor leading to the appearance of mirages, and other places do not have this uniqueness, making it less likely for mirages to appear. If this claim is correct, then I must ask another question. Since the Penglai Peninsula has a unique natural condition, shouldn't the appearance of the mirage be roughly the same each time? Why do the images of the mirage differ every time it appears? Does the natural environment of the Penglai Peninsula change every year? From the theory of light refraction, we know that when light passes through a medium with uniform density, its direction and speed of propagation usually remain unchanged. However, when light passes through two media with different densities at an oblique angle, at the interface where the two media meet, not only does the speed of propagation change, but the direction of the light also deviates. This theory is correct, but if we use this theory to explain mirages, it is not acceptable. From the perspective of the atmosphere, not only is the density different between the convection layer, isothermal layer, intermediate layer, ionosphere, and exosphere, but the density also varies within the same atmospheric layer. Therefore, when the sun shines on the Earth, there must be light refraction occurring, and just like how we see the moon in the water, we can also see many illusory suns in the atmosphere. So why can't we see them? The density of air is not only different during the day but also at night. When the full moon hangs in the sky, we can see the mirage of the moon reflecting on the water. So why can't we see the illusory reflection of the moon refracted into different densities of air in the sky? My explanation for the mirage is that it's not a reflection of earthly scenery in the sky, but a distortion of time and space of the Elysium world, which is a deliberate arrangement by the greatest creator to indicate to humanity that your sky is not illusory, but another time and space, another world, and that you humans have a bright future. When I introduced the Elysium of the 36-dimensional spaces, I already explained that the 1,000-year world and the 10,000-year world are very far away, while the Elysium world is right here, and the entire universe of the Earth belongs to the Elysium world. That is to say, the Earth, the Solar System, the Milky Way, the Rotary River Galaxy, and the Low Rotary Galaxy all belong to the Elysium world. Everything we see is a kind of illusory image. Mirages are illusory, transient beauty is illusory, flowers and trees are illusory, insects, birds, and beasts are illusory, rivers, lakes, and seas are illusory, the universe is illusory, and life is also illusory. Then, where is it not illusory? The answer is, the Elysium world is not illusory. Emptiness is not empty, form is not real. The smaller the energy, the more it takes shape, and the larger the energy, the more formless it becomes. Great form has no contour. Why can't we see the Elysium world then? Because our eyes don't have that structure. Can we see ultraviolet and infrared rays? Can we see electromagnetic and biological waves? Can we see gamma and beta rays? We are in a wonderful world, Elysium world, but we only see less than 3% of the world around us. Why can't we see it? Because our merits and virtues have not yet reached that standard. This is like someone asking, why can't I stay in the White House, the Kremlin, or Zhongnanhai? Why? Think about it yourself. Here is some information that may help us understand time and space. On January 28, 1915, a Turkish army advanced towards the 60th position in the Gallipoli region. When they climbed up the hill, several clouds descended vertically and silently enveloped the hill. Several metallic beams of light seemed to shoot out of the clouds. Then, a miraculous phenomenon occurred. The soldiers, who were brave and confident, one after another stepped into the clouds and disappeared in the clouds. A soldier named Lekade saw this terrifying scene with his own eyes. He shouted to stop his comrades, but they seemed to be deaf and crazily entered the fog. After a while, the clouds rose slowly and floated away, leaving only the hill. The whole army disappeared without a trace. Where did they go? They entered the Mirage. In 1994, an Italian passenger plane flying over the African coast suddenly disappeared on the radar screen in the control room, and then reappeared after a while. When the flight crew landed at the airport, the duty officer asked what had happened during the flight and why they suddenly lost track of it. The flight crew was puzzled and could not figure out what had happened because their flight had been going well without any accidents. Later, someone unexpectedly discovered that his watch was 20 minutes slow, and upon investigation, it was found that all the crew members and 315 passengers on the plane also had watches that were 20 minutes slow. What happened during those 20 minutes? Where did they go? Why weren't they aware of it? And why didn't it show up on the radar screen? In the Universe, Time and Space chapter, I talked about how time is divided into latitudinal time and longitudinal time. Longitudinal time is the time of the material world, and latitudinal time is the time of the non-material world. Humans exist in longitudinal time, which is like the x-axis of a complex function, while latitudinal time is the z-axis. When a person or object disappears from longitudinal time, they enter the realm of latitudinal spacetime. No matter when they return, it is still the same time point for them, but for us, it may have been a year, 10 years, or hundreds of years. The Italian plane disappeared for 20 minutes because it entered the realm of latitudinal spacetime. For the plane and the people on board, it might have been just a blink of an eye, so they were not aware that they had disappeared. However, for the people in the airport control room, it was a full 20 minutes. What is the realm of latitudinal spacetime? The Mirage is an example of the realm of latitudinal spacetime. When I was a child, my grandmother told me a story. One day, a woodcutter got lost in the mountains while chopping wood. He wandered around for a while and suddenly saw two old men playing chess on a beautiful hillside. He didn't want to disturb them, so he squatted next to them to watch. Everything was so peaceful and natural, but the only thing that confused him was that the leaves on the trees next to him turned from yellow to green, and then from green to yellow, changing colors from time to time. After a while, when he looked away and then back, the two old men were gone. He shuddered and suddenly realized that this was a place he was very familiar with from chopping wood before. He followed the familiar path home. When he arrived at the village, he found that his village had undergone a great change. He suspected that it was not his own village. He walked towards his home along the path he remembered, and everyone he met on the way looked at him with unfamiliar eyes. He didn't recognize any of them. He suspected that he had gone to the wrong village and asked the people he met about his old village. They all said that it was the village he was asking about. He asked if they knew certain people, but they replied that they were someone's grandfather or grandmother who had already passed away. When he asked about himself, they answered that he was someone's grandfather who had gone out to chop wood one day when he was young and never returned. Now let's analyze why the woodcutter got lost while he was chopping wood in a familiar mountain. This was because he suddenly entered a mirage, and the environment was no longer the familiar environment he had known before. Therefore, he was bound to get lost. Why did he suddenly understand where he was after shivering? This was because the mirage disappeared, and he stood in the place he had been familiar with before, so he suddenly understood. Why wasn't he disappearing together with the mirage since he was fortunate enough to be in the mirage, the Elysium world? This was because his spiritual quality had not yet reached the standard of living completely in the Elysium world. Then why did he have to witness the scene of the Elysium world with his own eyes? This was because he was destined to, and the two old men playing chess were definitely his relatives and friends in his previous life who had come to enlighten him and make him understand that although he did not yet have the qualifications to live completely in the Elysium world does exist. He could realize this truth, laying a foundation for him to enter the Elysium world in the future. This is a story about time and space. The woodcutter entered another realm of time and space, and when he returned from latitudinal time, he was still himself, but hundreds of years had passed in the longitudinal time of the mortal world. Therefore, the mirage is just an emergence of the Elysium world. Those who see the mirage may not have entered that realm, but they have the fortune to witness the scenery of the Elysium world. The mirage can appear not only in the sky but also on the ground. The scene of two old men playing chess that the woodcutter saw was a mirage on the ground. Even though there were many people near the mountain at that time, only the woodcutter could see it. Others couldn't see it no matter what they did, just like the hallucinations that appear in the brain of a person who has taken heroin. He really saw those scenes, and the people next to him couldn't see them no matter what. Those who see the mirage are lucky. If we realize that different time and space have different scenery, we can develop our thinking and understand that our world is just a material world in the space-time of the universe. There are many more beautiful worlds outside this material world, so why not go to that more beautiful place? God does not just consider us as a group of animals. He has revealed to those who are spiritual awakening another quiet and brilliant path of life. God, Jesus and Buddha Shakyamuni are not fooling us. All swindlers are for their own personal gain, but were Jesus and Buddha also seeking personal gain? They gave up everything in the world, so why would they need to deceive us? Deceiving wealthy people can bring them money, deceiving officials can bring some benefits, but what is the point of deceiving us who have nothing?